So what do you think? You do think that they aiming for that one world? I mean that American Union that Credo Mutwa was prophesizing about, and that one union currency, American Union currency, the Amero.
It probably won't be called the Amero. That
Okay.
was the prototype,
Okay.
right? They always run test runs to check public pulse to determine what are the people ready for us to roll out next without them losing their damn mind,
Go ahead.
right? So when they introduced the Amero, we talked about it.
Yeah.
When we talked about it, we was analyzing it to determine if it was workable in the system,
Mm-hmm.
right? When they playing a global monopoly game, when you look at who's trying to acquire what parts of the land where, you can see the game being played out
Mm-hmm.
and what the ulterior motive is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So they playing Monopoly, and in the Monopoly game, if you don't know how to advance the pieces to the board, you won't be able to play the Galactic Monopoly chess game. Because it's chess, it's Monopoly, it's all the board games, word games, letter games, number games. And once you start seeing it, you start seeing the patterns, you can explain it better to people that can't see it, that they can see the results, and by your explanation, they can understand how you got there.
Mm-hmm. Gates buying up all the land, with BlackRock buying up all the utility companies and the mortgaging real estate companies. It seemed like they lean in more towards that agenda, Rod. Like, what do you think about that, Rod? Because some people say, "Oh, we doomsday guys." I'm just looking at all the angles. We just looking at their playbook here. They playbook seems like it's lining up with the
Why
agenda.
would you tell? Listen, why would you tell the public, your enemy, what you was about to do to them?
Because you're gonna cut, so they agree with it.
Right. So that's what they call preemptive karma.
Okay.
But they don't tell you how those things gonna be carried out.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to figure out if they finna try to do all that, what you supposed to do to defend yourself.
Right.
We don't think along them lines. We think, woe is me, they finna do all this shit. No. And no woe is you. It's if you sit there and don't do nothing, you agree with it.
Right.
You don't protest, you don't, you know what I'm saying, say no, you don't tell your friend or tell two friends that ain't right. No. When you start doing that, you're doing your due diligence because you might not be able to develop a platform to speak from, but you might be able to talk to the people around you.
Right.
You know, you ain't got to make nobody listen. You're not obligated to force it on nobody. But if you got a willing ear, you spit that game to them, tell them what it is and how it works.
Hey, something you just said, man. Go ahead. I thought you was finished.
Oh yeah, I was
yeah. Some you just said made me remind me of something my uncle used to say. When people he used to get into it with people, they say, I'm gonna come over there and knock you out, right? He said, "What you think I'm gonna be doing while you doing it? You think I'm gonna be just standing there letting you do it? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, what you think I'm gonna just be standing there letting you knock me out? Please, man, I'm gonna be getting busy with you. You know what I'm saying?" Or he used to say, when they made your gun, they ain't stopped making guns. You know what I'm saying? You ain't the only gun in town. You know what I'm saying? Like that right there, right? It made me think about that when you said that. That like we ain't gotta stand around and let them do nothing to it. We can, hey, you know, we ain't no punk now. I ain't no killer, but I ain't no punk now. Don't make me pop the trunk. What Pell he said? Everybody ain't no punk now. Don't make me go and pop the trunk, boy. You know what I'm saying? It's in down
So
south. Huh?
that's what that's for so.
It's the down south talk. I'm rolling
Where I
Smith.
come from, and some of these young dudes, they got hobbies of collecting bodies and making them disappear like magicians on the stage.
Mm. It was dark and gothic how he took over the medical industry, and I got one on the medical industry, and I got one on the educational industry. But this is my question: the ward of the state question. When I think about what he just said, I think about wards of the state. So, do you think that Rockefeller's philosophy on how he did set up the educational board was set up to make us wards of the state? Because they don't teach us how to none of the stuff, the legal jargon that we're supposed to know not to be wards of the state. So do you think that his format and philosophy was to create us, to make us wards of the state based on what Aaron Russo just said?
In order to make you a perpetual servant, a slave class, is to prove that you're an imbecile in the eyes of the law. Once you've been proven an imbecile in the eyes of the law, you're not competent to administer your own affairs. Therefore, you need a caretaker, a slave master, right? And so, once you become conscious and self-aware, now they trying to find everything they can to sticky glue you into their system.
Based on what they said on the analogies on the Rockefeller's educational system, they said that any kid that was caught, speaking out against, say for example, if Christopher Columbus discovered America, they say, man, that's a bunch of crap. The people was already here. They kicked that kid to class, punish him, make an example out of him for saying that truth. Man, that's sinister. That's like a form of colonization.
It's part of indoctrination.
Go ahead.
It's part of psychological profiling. You got to remember, the early days of school, they had to teach you real stuff, or people wouldn't let their children go. But over the time, they gradually shut down all of the skilled trades in public school. Because they was only there for a certain cross section of the community. Now that it's been advocated for the whole of the community, now we don't want that program no more. Right? So they shut down the skilled trades. Then, understanding the sciences, the Pavlovian bells and the Skinner box functions, you create your classrooms based around what they call a key model. The key model is the basic layout of the classroom, the positioning of the teacher, the chairs, how many chairs per square feet, and all of that.
Damn, it's
right?
cold.
So when they start programming the child's mind, they gradually close those broad kindergarten classrooms down to little boxes in high school with the desks crammed close together because they overcrowded, so they say. To create a herd mentality. Because in the herd mentality, the herd is only going to follow the lead of that species. In the humans, we see the athletes, and now we're starting to see the academics as the excelling factors through the system for people to follow if they go all the way through. Guess who they look up to? Right? You need to get them to not look up to people around them and look up to people at a distance from them so they won't feel so connected to people they look up to. Because that builds a stronger bond and a stronger willpower in the individual.
Another question before we go to this next tape is I found out that Rockefeller was set up Spelman, named after his wife, and then he was a under guy. He funded he funded the money through the American Church Union or whatever to start Morehouse, but he made them boy and girl school, all boy for Morehouse, all girl for Spelman, and black schools. Why do you think that? What would be the psychological? And AI broke down some of it on the tape. But what was your perspective on the psychological thing on separating us from the woman and man, and then educating them separate, educating the black? Go ahead.
So they had to learn the different learning styles between the two. They knew that girls was learned at a different rate than boys, and now they had to separate them in order to determine which one of them learned at what pace. Current education system is geared toward the effeminization of the male, which is to put him on the feminine learning pattern, right? That they learned from separating boys from girls. By studying the way the pack move separately in masculine and feminine, and then how they interact when they once again come back together, that tell you information you need to know in order to control the people that you operating as the controller of.
Man, so you think telling me is Morehouse and Spelman could have been a social experiment as far as a think tank to use against us as far as how we learn? That's what it sounds like to me. You ain't giving that for free. Ain't nothing for free. You got some agenda. It was always agenda tied to Rockefeller's donations. It's always an agenda.
And then they also can isolate the real genius minds and separate them from the rest of them. And now they got the creators to use to create for them for a little bit of nothing. But the individual filthy rich to him. He might be worth $200 million working for the Rockefellers. Right? But he don't know that ain't no money. He ain't really in their league. They give you a bone.
From that tape is based on the globalists, right? Their agenda to have this do you think that it's a form of communism? Because it seemed like they was after they was always like, if you read the COINTELPRO files, it seemed like they was always after the communism guy. But then he said like they promoted communism overall, like as far as like a certain form of it. Like they want us to be equal as equal slaves while they be on the top, right, as dictators or rulers. So do you think that the New World Order is a communism movement? A communist movement? To me, it's like a communist movement, man.
So you got to realize when you read communist writings, all of them refer to their style of government as a democracy.
Go ahead.
Whether it's the Bolshevik Revolution, whether it's the fascist rise of Hitler, they all talked about their democracy, the rule of the masses, right? So when we looking at mass rule, the average person don't know what goes into leading their local community, let alone a whole group of tribes like that. Right. So the politics involved is above their pay grade. So they only gonna tell them what they need to know, because all of the information on the need to know basis. But they tell it to each other in code. And this is how we get to see what's really going on when we learn their codes, what patterns they follow, what stars movement are they following, why are they telling us about this event or that event. They don't never tell you anything that doesn't have an underlying agenda attached. Right? They got a reason for telling you everything they're telling you, or else they wouldn't tell you nothing. So why are they telling it to you? Why are y'all just now disclosing information about IAPs or UFOs or whatever you want to call them? Why y'all just now coming out admitting they interdimensional, intergalactic, interstellar, and all those other inner beings? What make y'all want to tell us now?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why do they follow all of the steps of continuity government and the regular people can't see it? Because they never read the documents and they never knew what was coming, so they didn't know what signs to look for.
Right.
So we got to come behind them and tell them what all happened. It was a whole changing of the guard taking place. It's almost complete. You know, be like Frankie Beverly and Mays. I'm so happy to see you and me came back in stride again.
Right. Based on I'm studying the information, they study referring to everybody like us as the goings, and we savages, and you know, well, they really the going, but they refer to us as the going, and they got all these evil statistic plans, and it sounds like the same plans as Enlil. Like Enlil used famine, he used crop dusting. I mean, he's poisoning our kids. It's the same philosophy. It seemed like coming straight out of the Old Testament.
It's also coming straight out of the protocols of Zion.
Okay.
You got to know where they got a playbook.
Yeah.
Protocol means how a thing is done.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the purpose of the study was to implement a program to maintain your control by controlling the systems in people's lives. Right? So they follow all that Albert Pike, Scottish Rite, Freemasonic methodology. And then you have the ones who follow the York Rite methodology. The 3 degrees, which represents the 3 stages of matter: solid, liquids, and gases. Right? So you scientifically, you analyzing the motive behind why they release certain information, you analyze everything they're doing, you start seeing the pattern. And the pattern is how you crack the code.
So to me, the pattern is fear. That's the only pattern. It's fear. Fear us. We're in control. And then they admitted that, hey, if these guys come together as a unit and figure out they outnumber us, 10,000 to 100,000 to 1,000,000 to 1, they gonna say, oh, they gonna take over. So, but as long as they keep the fear, it's like this. They said if one guy, because Rockefeller said this in some of his philosophy in their little think tank. He said if one brilliant one stand out amongst them to speak out against what's happening to them, we humiliate him and make an example out of him in front of the other ones, so that he won't. It seems like the same philosophy as Willie Lynch letter.
Well, that's divided character, but by default, that made the mortals unknown immortals.
Yeah.
Right. So he's talking about prime source empowering us to exercise free will in the transference of the light. Right. Then it takes us to Prometheus still in the flame from the gods. Right. To give it to the mortals. It goes into the reason why Hercules is going through all of these tests to develop the strength in the character. Right. So when you put it all together, it's what the priest is. He's not talking to regular people with what you're reading, he's talking to priests and scholars, and he's making the bridge between, let's say that guy is a high school English professor, but he's not very skilled in metaphysics.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to bridge the gap between the English professor and the metaphysician by describing it in that manner, right? The Israel is a Egyptian hijacked term. It got nothing to do with what they've been telling us that it got something to do with. Anybody tell you that God made some people with nowhere to live and that they his special people got to be delirious. Because all of us is where Mama Earth placed us at, organic to the land that we come from. We have the ability to traverse the rest of the world and visit with the other tribes. Right? So this is why in their religious texts it said we made you the tribes and clans that you may know one another, recognizing the difference. When they exploit the teaching of the people, this is to manipulate the mind of the masses. So he's talking to people with higher levels of education than the people that we communicate with on a day-to-day basis.
Indeed. Hey, and with that being said, with all this galactic talk, what's the latest update you got? I'm asking everybody who come on the show the latest update you got about the 3i Atlas. I know you posted on your Instagram. I know they said what they saying, family. It just left. They can't see it right now. I think it's hiding behind the sun, something like that. I forget what's
they telling us too many things about 3i Atlas that's inconsistent with what we've seen. They told us a couple of days ago it smashed into the sun.
They said that,
yeah. But it ain't even by the sun though. Even when they told us that, it wasn't near the sun.
Yeah.
So it's all of the 3i Atlas phenomenon is all coded information. It's all coded information. I don't even think personally, this is my opinion, I think that it's just being used to get certain information in the public, in your face, behind your back type deal. I don't even know if it's real. Because it's too many inconsistencies. First, it was a meteor, then it wasn't a meteor, then it was an asteroid, then it wasn't an asteroid, then it was a mothership, then it wasn't a mothership, but then all these other ships keep popping up all around it, but then they keep disappearing. And I'm like, so they given a story in the reports on 3i Atlas, and until you crunch them all together, you can't see what the story is. It's like, you ever seen a penny stretcher?
Yeah.
It's like you stretch the penny out. You know it's a penny.
Right.
But you can't quite make it out for a minute. You're like, what the hell is it? Oh, they put it through the penny stretcher. That's what the story, the 3i Atlas story is through the penny stretcher. It's a clock. It's a timer.
Yeah.
Now what they timing, I can't tell you. But I can tell you that the reports of its arrival has oscillated. Right. The last I heard, it was on my birthday, but it started off in December, the arrival. Then it went as close to us as October 27th. I don't know what the estimated arrival time is now, but they've been doing countdowns, and that's how you know it's a clock. This many days into the arrival. I'm like, okay. what you really look? Well, we can't be thinking that 3i Atlas is the mothership that's coming because it's already here. The mothership that's coming and been here for a couple of years, they've spotted it in Venezuela, Brazil, New Zealand, and it's because it stayed close to the southern hemisphere because that's the top of the planet. They got us believing north is up and south is down. It's the other way around. That's why the south get the sun first.
Wait. Hold up, Rod. If north is south and south is north, what about the feng shui we just talked about? Should you be facing, you get what I'm saying?
Remember when I gave you a description of what it was? It's the man upside down.
Yeah.
And it's the woman right side up. You ever heard the term the south will rise again?
Yeah.
That's the code or the call of the matriarch's return. Because when the South is put back on top, that's when the woman is put back on top. But not because she can rule better than the man, she ruled different than the man. So we go from military, squared off, regimented designs of our cities back to the intrinsic circles to the center, right? So you're looking at an era that's closing and one that's coming on, and because most of us in the 99 percentile don't remember past lives, we think this is the only life we ever had. And because we think this is the only life we ever had, we can't recognize the signs that's the bleed over from past lives that tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So we go with the narrative that the rulers gave us as the story. Remember, the victors write history and the ruthless control it. Right? So they telling us how to look at the story instead of us tapping into our inner consciousness, which goes back to what you was talking about, remote viewing. Right? Because it's all about tuning in to your higher self. And then you have access to your higher senses, like your physical body have access to emotions. Your emotions is your navigation system. And you know how to read your emotions, it saves you so many problems in your life.
Right.
And that's why people have what we call temper tantrums, short fuses, because they've never learned to understand that their emotions is a navigation system.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to dictate what you do. They're supposed to tell you what you experience. When you're not in the physical body, you don't have emotions. It's pure intellect. Then when you go to your higher self, now you are not only intellect, but divine intellect, because you have access to what we call non-local information of time, space, and beyond. Right? The remote viewing program is a system that they found. It's the same system of tarot reading, I Ching reading. The practice of learning it is calibrating the mind to translate what you're seeing into the vessel that you're using. So you start off as a person sitting in the living room, but the mind is not restricted by the body. This is how you know that when people tell you we in the soul trap, they lying. If we was in the soul trap, we wouldn't be able to astral travel or etherically project. We wouldn't be able to allow our mind to remote view other locations because we would be in the soul trap. If you can do any of those things, if there's another soul, you can communicate with it. Whether it's the oversoul of all creation we call Prime Creator, Big Mama, or whether it's the Big Mama by tribal right walking on the land, we can communicate through telepathic means when you move into that higher energy. But as long as you think person, place, or thing, they got you locked in a triangulation. That's what the 3 points of it are, triangulation. When you look at GPS, it's using triangulation.
Okay.
Right? So once you get past a coincidence, now you have a triangulation, because now co means 2. Tri means 3. And the 3 points of convergence tells you where you at any given time.
Yeah. They just said that in the book. They said our local universe has a triangular light core of 10 million light years.
Yeah. So he's telling you, just like the microcosm, macrocosm.
Right.
Right. Just like you take you 10 minutes to walk to the store, there's a version of you that's taking 10 million light years to walk to the store. Because it's non-local.
Yo, Rob, what I ain't gonna ask that. I ask that later. You was talking about remote viewing. When we mentioned the 3-eye atlas, they kept mentioning Mars a little while ago with the 3-eye atlas. I remember I had Dr. Wesley Muhammad on a couple of months ago, and we was reading some of the papers on remote viewing from I think when they first started the program, and one of their top remote viewers they ever had was remote viewing. They gave him like coordinates, and he remote viewed the Mars. And he was talking about how he was seeing these shadowy figures, and in that community, shadowy is code word for black. Tell us a little bit about the history of black people in Mars. There's been so many different stories I've heard, whether it's Bobby Hemmett, whether it's the Moors, whether it's this person. What can you tell us the history of blacks and this specific planet, Mars?
Look, there's 7 major planets in the solar system. There has been a time in our history where we have been to every one of them.
Every one of them.
Every one of them. But remember, these brown bodies is only about 2,000, 3,000 years old.
Mm.
We were shades of olive and green and marine blue. Right? Those colors has changed because of the chemical composition of what we made of has changed. We used to breathe ozone as our primary oxygen source, which is a double oxygen molecule. And we used to be under, the ozone used to be all the way on the ground, which means higher pressure. Right? And the combination of the two and the way that we are attracting sun at the time, we growing colossal in size. Right? But now we smaller. We no longer have what we call magnesium copper conversion. Now we have iron copper conversion. And iron rusting gives us our shades of wheat, which takes us to the Popol Vuh, the Mayan Bible, as they call it. And they tell you in there that man was made from maize. That's what they talk about. The different carbon tones. But if we take our iron and substitute it for magnesium, our blood would look like chlorophyll. You know, so we've been through so many different cycles. We change the rules at every new cycle because you got to write a new history. Listen, we eternal beings. That's important. We living for eternity.
It's a long time, Rod.
What the hell we supposed to do all that time?
Figure some shit out.
So we break life up into 100-year segments and live a different life every 100 years, every 1,000 years. But we have to break eternity up into bite-sized pieces in order to even grasp what it is. Right? So this gives us the phenomenon called death, which is actually just entropy.
Yo, Rod, I don't know if I ever told you this, yo. So check this out. When I was young, like I'm a calm dude for the most part. You know, I could you know, I don't get anxious when situations present itself. I know how to, like, you know, really tap in and solve any situation that I'm presented with. But when I was young, one thing that gave me extreme anxiety, I think I told you this before, is the idea of thinking about eternity, thinking about living forever. When I'm talking about 5, 6 years old, you know, because they teach you about God and shit, and in my mind, I'm just like, what the fuck is forever? How the fuck I'm gonna live forever? Yo, what? And I used to just come up with a million questions about how am I going to, about eternity and how that's going to be, you know, whatever. But that gave me extreme anxiety, Rod, to the point where I had to just, eventually, I just said, you know what? I'm going to stop thinking about it, and, you know, whatever happens, happens. But there was a couple of years when thinking about eternity, some weird shit gave me extreme anxiety, man. So when you said that just now, when you was like, we eternal beings, I'm like, oh shit, I had that thought again.
Yeah,
I got triggered, Rod.
What you went through is called the chrysalis of awakening. Before you can realize your immortal eternal self, you first have to come to terms with your physically mortal self. You got to come to terms that you're not going to always be in the body.
Right. Right.
right? But how you perceive the body is where the anxiety comes from. It makes you agitated.
Yeah.
That what we call adrenaline response to a concept or idea floods the body and then looking for the threat, and the threat is absence of knowledge.
Mm. Mm.
As soon as you start to understand that outside of the physical body, we don't feel. If we came into this life on 3D Earth and we felt stuff and we loved genuinely and we was able to experience genuine love, we get outside the body.
Mm-hmm.
Every emotion we felt, every anger, we celebrate that stuff because we had the opportunity to be more than intellect.
Right. Right.
Right. We had the opportunity to experience success and failure. When you a God, you don't even know what the hell failure. You have to create failure in order to even know that failure exists.
Wow.
But when you mortal, you have to stop being scared of failure in order to find success. It's just the opposite.
Ain't that some shit?
Right? This size above, so below, but it's a mirror. 6 on the ground look like 9 in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
9 in the sky look like 6 on the ground. Or you can flip it. Depending on the angle you looking at the 9. Is you looking at it from the top or the bottom?
Right. Right. Right.
Right? So it's perception.
Yeah.
Your whole life is predicated upon whose perception do you accept to tell you what life means. You're supposed to read all them books, not for the sake of reading books. It serves two purposes. It allows you to have a glimpse in the perspective of somebody else, be it fiction or nonfiction. Right? Then it also allows you an opportunity to exercise the brain like you do weightlifting for the body.
Right, right, right.
When you hear them talk about like Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, they call them, those were intellectual giants. They wasn't born that way.
Mm-hmm.
They had to work out. They had to exercise that man. Sheikh Anta Diop. Right? Yeah. Amazing scientists. Amazing. Don't nobody even know that he was one of the pioneers in carbon-13 dating. Then he went on to take it further and came up with other types of dating systems based on the decay of elements.
Right, right.
Right? Why do the elements decay? That's entropy. Right? From chaos they came, and to chaos they return. Only way you can avoid the entropy is you have to reach what we call absolute zero, where you gain no energy, lose no energy. Mm-hmm. Right? Or you burn the exact same amount that you consume. There's no loss. As soon as the energy beginning to be lost, them opinions. It sets in entropy. Right? When you understand the reason why you have fear, it's telling you where you need to be educated. If you're scared of hell, find out where it came from. Is hell really there? Did man's mind invented hell out of his paranoia? Right? Is heaven really there? Or did man have grandiose delusions of a potential utopia and wrote a story about heaven? Right? You can live hell or heaven on earth. You don't got to be dead to live, man, one of them. But we so busy letting somebody tell us how to live, we don't know the difference in the two on earth. Because we have hell one day and heaven the next. Right? The vicissitudes, the ups and downs, the ins and outs of life. If we taught our children that they're supposed to have struggles in life, I guarantee you that the suicide rate will plummet by 90% in 5 years. Just by telling the children that, in life sometime, baby, you're supposed to struggle in order to get stronger. Life supposed to get hard when you get too complacent at being nothing in order to make you into something.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you go into that apathetic state. Now remember, religion is engineered, designed as a military tool to stir up the apathetic state in all of the children. They applied it through education. School is not a socio political word. It's a religious word from a specific religion. Right? But then using linguistics, they manipulate it a little bit and you don't know where it came from, so you don't know what you're doing. That's that go along to get along, obedience to authority mentality. Right? They did a whole study on people's obedience to authority. Right? And they did one called the Zimbardo's prison study. Right? Zimbardo took regular people, regular Joes, and divided them up. Half of y'all inmates, half of y'all prisoners. Y'all can leave this program anytime y'all get ready to. All you have to do is ask. Then they played out a scenario. They did this in Arizona, in a university in Arizona. And they play out the scenario. The cops, the ones they appointed as the correction officers, became aggressive and abusive to the inmates. The inmates became slick, conniving, trying to run scams on people, all this stuff. In a 6-month prison study, it amazed them at how quick the inmates became inmates and the guards became predatory prison guards.
Damn. Do you think, I was talking to you about psychic powers and abilities, and one of the things people say is that people in what they call third world countries, they're able to tap in to these supernatural abilities more because they're not, they don't have all the lights in the city and the distraction around them. Do you feel as though when you were in prison, were you able to tap more into certain abilities because you didn't think about rent, think about a goddamn avocado that costs $3 if it's organic? Was your ability to tap into these latent things that they talk about, it wasn't more prevalent and when you were locked up, Rod?
That's what you're talking about, is sensory deprivation that allows you to tap into other senses. The time that I did locked up, when you locked up, you have worries just like people in the street, but you got a different set of worries. Right? What comes with the new environment comes a new set of responsibilities. And certain stuff, like instead of worrying about how I'm going to pay my rent or my light or my gas, I'm wondering how am I going to make commissary? How am I going to get my next set of books in? How am I going to make sure I can pay for my hygiene stuff? So the struggle is still the same in the penitentiary as it is in the street. We still have distractions. You got the dude stabbing the other dude, the guy having to fight with the police. You got the guy over there trying to have a relationship with the other guy. All this stuff is still going on around you. It's just in another world. It's in another structure of reality that still have to give you something to keep your mind focused on, and to restrict you from being able to tap into more consciousness. But the thing is it's not necessarily third world countries, because if you go down to people that live in the rural countryside, we be sitting on the porch, they'll hear something way out in the field, and you be like, what are you talking about? Until you see that this big old buck deer run out, and he's like, I knew it was one out there, I tried to tell you. Right? Because they became acclimated to the environment, and the things that they mind focus on is more localized to their environment. It's the same whether you're in prison, whether you're in the projects, or whether you're in the penthouse. Your local environment is what's going to absorb most of what you consciously focus on a day-to-day basis. You will always have some kind of concern about the local environment around you because that's your area of control. So the circumstances might change, but what draws the attention of the mind is what matters. When you're more out into nature, more stuff nature related sync to your mind. That's why Dr. Doolittle could talk with animals. He lived on a ranch.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, man. That's some serious stuff. What do you think about, like, in terms, Rod, of well, let me ask you this before I ask you that. Is it gonna get, we talk about so many things and our DNA waking back up and coming online. Are people going to start to live longer, Rod? Like, is this thing where people live to be 110? Is that going to increase? Are we going to see people live to 300, 400? What do you see in the next 100 years in terms of the belief system we have called aging? Is that going to change drastically?
The field of gerontology deals with the science of getting old. And back in the 90s is when I first encountered the work of a grad student at the time named Dr. Cynthia Kenyon.
Yeah.
She was working on extending human life way back then. And I think she went on to win a Nobel Peace Prize for her research in aging. Now they are releasing technology that's known to be capable of regenerating your body. The body is just the avatar. You can have more than one if you know how to jump from one to the next, right? And the avatar is programmed, and the program is on the chip, and the chip is called DNA. The chip is powered by mitochondria. So when you're looking at the ability to move in, you got to go to telomere science. Because when you go back to ancient Sumer, it tells you why man don't live for 100 over 100 and some years, because the scientists altered the genome, which goes back to what we was reading here earlier about the gods having the ability to give the light to lesser beings.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is what they're talking about. But the light can be activated. What they coming up with is all this stuff is old Atlantean technology rediscovered. From the cryogenics where they froze Big Tookie and then kept him in Area 51 to the Bajinga tribe who telepathically told the scientists how to thaw him out, and been working with scientists in Antarctica since the 50s, and they still look the same. But they're a different genetic stock of human. But they look like they straight out of the jungle of Africa. Right. And then they tried to tell us this fairy tale that they captured some Africans and turned them loose in Antarctica, and they just became nomadic giants on the land knowing everything to do. No, them people down there was the ones they thawed out of the ice that had been froze for thousands of years. Bajinga tribe. That's what they call them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some serious stuff. That when you first told me about Tookie and they froze him. At first I was like, yo, Rod is bugging. What is he but now I'm like, nah, that makes I can see them doing that.
Big Tookie was what you call Mr. Untouchable. You was never supposed to execute him because he was one of the chiefs that was supposed to negotiate the close of the contract. It was three main chiefs appointed. It was 44 Blue, which is Big Tookie, 44 Red, which is Chief Malik Angel Bay, Jeff Ford, and then it was the Big Six, which stands in the middle as the chairman of the board, Larry Hoover. Larry Hoover's original job from birth was always to collect the information from Angel Bay and Big Tookie and give a report to the people on the land about the invasion and the war effort. He can't do his job when the government attack him, take him off the board. None of them. That's where the COINTELPRO whole mission statement begins to rest in the mind of the victims of the COINTELPRO operations and tell them what the government was doing to ever keep us from reclaiming our birthright. But if one chief can figure out who we at war with, they look like us, but they ain't us, they Negropeans, that changes the whole dynamic. And now that gives us back what we call jurisdictional control of the land or jurisdictional sovereignty Now we have to go through this whole governmental transitional process to transfer from the corporate to the republic back to the tribes. Now we didn't pretty much got rid of the whole corporate government. Now the republic got to restore the tribes. The restored republic is what it's.
Melanated, Moorish looking being. And there in the UFO community, you never hear them referencing those beings. How come?
They want us to believe that the only melanated people that ever existed was us on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
The
Which is
people,
quite different.
they got people that's melanated that come from other systems. They dark as whatever that is behind you.
That's right.
And you see their eyes. If they don't smile, you won't even know they got teeth.
That's right.
Right? But they got something else. If they stand in direct sunlight,
The golden.
they glisten.
Yeah. And we were talking about the gold mining could be linked to melanin that has connected some of that genetic hybriding that could be in certain people.
Well, we used to eat gold. In Atlantis, all we ate was couscous.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and this is why we was able to perform things at a higher consciousness level.
Octave, yes.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that we built on the earth, we built it in the fourth and fifth dimension, and then it's solidified in the 3D.
Yes.
But that's a whole level of tech that we haven't got back to.
But
we're on our way there.
Yeah, but even so, when you go to a lot of these high-end parties, they're eating gold flakes on their plates. They still eat gold. Monatomic gold is another form of, the Omis gold.
Ormus, yeah.
Ormus
the
gold.
Ormus is what we used to call the couscous.
Yes. So it's still being consumed, just not to the degree, and people aren't utilizing it alchemically to use telekinesis like we used to.
Yeah, not only telekinesis, but all of the psychic abilities, including the ability to accelerate your cellular structure.
Yeah.
And you relax your cellular structure, you can walk through a wall.
Yes. Well, the African blinkers are linked to those so-called melanated tall beings. They've been denoted even in battles, so-called galactic battles. No one fought them and could fight them because they would blink out of reality, like in dimensions. Yes.
Simeon Toko, he wasn't the only one. He's just the only one they found.
Yep.
We come in teams, whether we Earthborn or whether we Starfleet.
That's right.
We come in teams.
You just see like one, but you may not see them all. Yeah.
And just like I'm over here, I'm using social media as the means to inform.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But Ibrahim Traore is over there, and he's using a different method. But he's reaching all of the people of the continent.
That's right.
Right? Everything that Muammar Gaddafi tried to do, the pressure on Ibrahim Traore is forcing Gaddafi's programs to the forefront.
Yes.
And the worst thing they can do, they think they want to take him out. You'd be better off letting him live.
They'll martyr him and they'll lose. That'll be a losing battle.
And what we don't understand is it's not just the African continent that's behind him. We behind him too. You got Haitians talking about hands off Ibrahim Traore. You got Jamaicans talking about hands off Ibrahim Traore. Cubans talking about hands off Ibrahim Traore.
That's right.
You got people in Brazil, in Guatemala, in Chile, in Mexico. They all saying the same thing. Leave that man alone unless you want the whole melanated world to rebel against your whole structure.
And we already know that melanation, there's only 7% Europeans on the earth, and we constitute over 90%.
But the problem is that in that 90, about probably 20% of them, they the enemy too.
Oh, absolutely.
Not that we want them to be our enemy. They said that we was their enemy, whether we want to be or not.
Well, it's a long-standing war that we don't even know we're coexisting in.
Right. So what we was trying to recover from was the Great Debauchery. Everybody hear Bobby Hemming talk about the Great Debauchery, the Great Debauchery. Don't nobody know what it was. It was the genetic waste product that they created that needed a drop of original blood for the ascension rites. That's what the Great Debauchery was. That's why the caduceus, the symbol of the double helix, is all over the world. Asclepius staff, whatever you want to call it. But that's what it was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why they're going back to the blood test. Nature knows no color line.
It doesn't.
But it know a rotten motherfucker from a good motherfucker, though.
Frequency doesn't lie.
Yep.
Animals and
That's why I
children.
tell people, if you introduce me to somebody and I automatically don't like them, please don't bring them back around me.
It's true. It's interesting, right? Like you can feel it.
Yeah. It's so rare that I automatically dislike a person that when I automatically dislike a person, I pay attention. I used to try to overcome it. I could be his friend. No, motherfucker, we can't be friends.
No, my mother used to tell me that your first impression is the last thing, and what it is at the beginning is what she call it is in French. It's like a preview of something that will happen that you're already experiencing, so you know it exists. That's why you feel it initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a whole lot that we have closed our minds through the agency of colonization.
Yes. Yes.
That's why one of the most important books in the proper countermeasure protocol is Dr. Neely Fuller, United Independent Compensatory Code Concept for Breaking the Chains of White Supremacy.
Can you when we get off, can you write that down? Just send
I'll
that.
send you a cover of the book.
Thank
And
you.
I'll send you the Amazon link so you can order it.
Thank you.
And he have a second edition that deals, I think it's like a dictionary.
Okay.
Yeah, but he identified the 9 areas of people activity. I added a 10th, health, because the common denominator to economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. If you ain't got health, you can't do none of that.
Speak it. Health is wealth.
Right. And that's the 10th because it's the common denominator in all 9.
Well, it's the one thing that they are purposefully attacking is the health of the humanity right now, perpetually with the food, the chemtrails, the soil, the blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Every which way, people are being incepted with some form of biological poison. And it's purposefully done because no matter how conscious we are, how rah we get, if we ain't feeling well, we can't get up to fight or even talk or even be conscious about a conversation like this the next day.
I know Bobby Kennedy said that they've been feeding us a lookalike food substance.
Oh, replications. Remember like on Star Trek, you got the replicator? Like the replicator, like, oh, it tastes like a burger. It may even look like a burger, but it's certainly not a burger. Okay. I don't think we've had food ever since they've, even with the whole concept of Whole Foods, creating a store called Whole Foods, and Monsanto had incepted it. What was this, over like 10 years ago? All foods have been incepted with some sort of glyphosate, which is in all of the wheats, all the wheats. And I always tell people, the only way you can be certain of food is if you grow it yourself and you create those things for yourself. I am a proponent of putting hands in the soil. That's why you don't see nails on me, because my hand is always in the soil. We create our own substance for our babies, for our grandbabies, for our families. We weren't meant to eat from third parties. How could you ever feel secure eating from the enemy's hands? You know what I mean? That's why they had welfare, because they want you to go to their gross restores. You know what I mean? It's gross and it's a restore. Okay? If that's not telling you what it is, that's it. You go into the store and there's soy and everything. That's why the boys are wearing purses and high heels. You know what I mean? You got, I tell mothers all the time, breast milk is the best milk for your babies. You're seeing worms inside of your formula because listen to the word formula. Why would you ever want to give a baby something that is formalized in a laboratory by the enemy? Your breast create the perfect alchemical milk that sustains a baby in every which way. If the baby has a cold, the mother will geoengineer alchemically the proper milk to build the antibodies to build the health of the baby. So I
But
would
that's
say,
what a
like,
cold is anyway.
absolutely.
A cold is you've encountered a foreign agent that your body has never experienced, and the colostrum in your mother didn't warn you about. So now you have to go through the process of analyzing and engineering a biological defense against it in the future. You never catch the same cold twice. They just call them a cold.
That's right.
Ain't got nothing to do with being cold either, because you can catch them in the summertime.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
There's,
all that's trickery.
it is.
It's
It
only
is.
two temperature related illnesses: hypothermia and hyperthermia.
Oh, very good. Yes. Yes.
Freezing to death or heat stroke.
And most viruses are all really, if we speak about it, most viruses are what we perceive to be viruses or diseases are cycle or product byproducts of your psychological disease of not being able to alchemically deal with some of the trauma-based programming that you're not acknowledging. And also parasites. There are parasites in everything. Parasites are most likely the number one cause of every single issue virally that's going on, including mold and spores that are in a lot of things with the amped up radiation, which we talk about Fukushima and also Chernobyl, and talk about the black mold that was eating the radiation. And I always tell people radiation and mold are like best friends and they're symbiotic. So when you have sugar, which is their number one source of food source, and they put sugar in toothpaste, lotions. They tell you to they put sugar in the very anything that doesn't even require it. That you're giving the food source to the parasites, the molds, and then you have amped up fiber optics all over the planet that was instituted during 2020 when they asked us to stay in our houses. And then you wonder why people are getting like these super duper enhanced showing up and taking them out in 2.5 seconds.
Well, it's not the sugar.
Oh,
It's the bleaching agent in the sugar
oh
that's
yes.
toxic.
Yes, yes.
Like 80% of your glucose consumption is used for neural functioning.
You do need it. Yes.
So, but the problem is the bleaching agents that they use. Remember, when we used to cook confectionaries, we used to use syrups that come from trees,
Yes.
sugar cane,
Tap
sugar
the tree.
beets,
Yeah.
right?
Dates.
Or we use a brown sugar,
Always. Always.
right?
Yes.
And the reason being is we didn't bleach it. Natural sugar is tan,
It is.
but they don't want you eating natural sugar because it
No.
doesn't have a bleaching agent in it.
And if people, and that's why white is always denoted to be, it's projected as being clean and cleansed. So people psychologically think if it's not white, it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then you got the flour. And
Mhm.
flour not bad, but the bleaching agent they use to bleach the flour, so
And the
it's not
hybridization. Yeah. And
it's not an
hybridization.
off-white yellow color
Yep.
with the natural color of flour.
Yes.
White flour is not natural.
No.
It's
And
bleached.
But when you mill when you mill the actual when you mill the actual grain, it's really fine, beautiful tan, little darkish. It's beautiful and the texture is really nice. But they don't teach people that. And also the hybridized wheat that's been geoengineered by our handy dandy governmental agents of bioweaponry, they created the most hostile wheat, which, back in the days no one had gluten issues. We ate Wonder Bread, for God's sake. Wonder Bread was the best peanut butter and jelly sandwiches you could ever have was on
Oh
some
yeah,
Wonder
I
Bread. Remember
remember.
that? Woo, boy,
I
I can
remember.
smell it. You know what I mean?
Remember, we want some Wonder Bread. I remember.
Oh my God, it was soft. It was. Did you ever get sick from it? My mother never got sick from it. Nobody got sick from Wonder Bread. It was like, and we wrote in fifth grade. Our teachers had us write to the companies, and we had to write the ingredients and say how wonderful we liked each of the, kind of. I wrote for Wonder. I wrote to run Wonder Bread and some other bread company, and there was only like 4 ingredients. Okay, flour, maybe